Welcome to Education Today. I'm Trista.
And I'm Max of Armstrong High School in the Armstrong School District.
Armstrong County has many options when it comes to obtaining help with just about anything. The county hosts an annual Community Awareness Day, has school-based programs hosted by Judge Gary DeCamo, and has hotline numbers and agencies to help if you or someone is suffering from drug or alcohol dependence, or maybe a victim of domestic abuse.
It's great to have these options out there, but it is even more important to know where they are, how to contact them, and what services they provide. Tonight, we're going to focus on a specific organization that has been a part of the Armstrong County community for years.
Haven is a resource located in Katanning and has been offered help to those who need it for years. Tonight, we have Ellen Bowman, Executive Director of Haven, here to tell us about the organization.
Welcome to Education Today. Would you please take a minute to introduce yourself for our viewers at home?
Sure. My name is Ellen Bowman, as you said. I am the Executive Director at Haven. I've been there for 16 years. Haven was established in 1979, so we have been here in Armstrong County supporting those impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault for that long.
Wow. What exactly does Haven stand for, and where is it located?
Haven is an acronym, so thanks for asking that. It's because it looks like it's a misspelled word. It stands for Helping All Victims in Need. We changed our name a few years ago to include all victims because there was a perception that we didn't provide services for men, and we really want to dispel that myth, so we want you to know that we're there for all victims.
Awesome.
We're physically located, and I will tell you, we used to not advertise our location for safety, but we have found that those who shouldn't know where we are can find us, and those who need us maybe can't, so we're no longer a secret location, but we're located at our main facility is located at 325 Arch Street in Katanning.
Oh, okay. Are there any branch offices or other organizations that you work with to provide assistance when and where needed?
The way our system's set up and how we provide services in Armstrong County, we will provide services at any secure location in the county. So we have gone and do go to churches, in outlying areas when transportation is an issue. We primarily serve Armstrong County and primarily provide services within Armstrong County, but we're actually funded to provide services for anybody that's in Pennsylvania, so sometimes we service people that are from outside of the Armstrong County area, but any place that's safe for the staff and the people that work at Haven, we will go and support victims.
That's really good. Can you tell us about some of these services that Haven provides?
Mm-hmm. We provide a lot of services, and fortunately, if you haven't ever needed them, you don't know what we provide, but we have an emergency shelter. The shelter itself is primarily for women and children in our main shelter, but we shelter men off-site, and so we do provide shelter for men. We provide transportation. As most of you know, there's limited public transportation in Armstrong County, so we do lease a car so that if victims have a challenge getting to appointments or even to Haven, we will provide that transportation. We have a 24/7 hotline. We're there 24 hours a day. We have backup for those who cover the hotline, where they're live, people that work in the shelter cover the hotline. And then we have supervisors and advocates that serve as backups to be on call. We provide advocacy and accompaniment, which is probably one of the most critical services that we do. And that is if somebody shows up at Armstrong Center for Medicine and Health, ACMH, we are called there to support victims of either domestic violence or sexual assault. We also accompany individuals that need our services to court, to medical appointments, to social service appointments. So we do a lot of accompaniment. And court in particular is probably one of the biggest services we provide because the judicial process is pretty complicated. And so we help them through every step of that process. We file all of the, I shouldn't say all, most, probably 99% of the protection from abuse petitions in Armstrong County. Every county has to have what's called a pro se system, and the pro se system means that you should be able to file a PFA. The Protection from Abuse acronym is PFA. without paying an attorney. So we do that at Haven. We safety plan with the individuals. We file the paperwork and we help them through that process. So we do that too. We have individual and group counseling and crisis intervention and individual counseling. So those are probably the
Wow.
primary services.
You guys do a lot.
We
Yeah.
do.
It's
Thanks
really
for,
good.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
if someone wanted to make a donation to your organization, how would they go about doing that, and what kind of items are you in need of?
We need almost anything at any given time. You can imagine in your own house when you have to go buy toilet paper, paper products, soap, things for your home. We do that for a lot of people. We provided almost 2,000 nights in emergency shelter last year, so we have women and children in the shelter, and we can shelter up to 13 people.
Wow.
So we always need paper products and those type of things for the shelter. And cleaning products, like I said, you can imagine. We do also have a secondhand shop, which is really an exciting program that we started. We started a few years ago, but in May of this year, what we did was we partnered with the Progressive Workshop in Katanning, and now the shop is totally managed by Progressive Workshop and the individuals with disabilities who are trying to learn a trade. And so it's been a very exciting program for us, because when you donate items to our secondhand shop, which is at 107 North Jefferson Street, you also are helping two nonprofits. So you're helping the individuals with disabilities and Progressive Workshop as well as Haven.
So it's also located right in Katanning?
It is,
secondhand
it
shop?
is. And we take anything there. We get an overabundance of clothing, I will tell you. I mean, that's probably because a lot of us have an overabundance of clothing and
Right,
we get a lot of
right.
donations. But we take household gifts, furniture. We always need furniture. So the shop is pretty big and we're able to accommodate that.
Yeah.
So that's something that we take. And at the shelter, so the people we serve also have access to the donations at the shop. So we kind of tag team with them. But we keep a lot of donations at the shop too. We keep clothing and toys and items for the people we serve. Book bags filled with school supplies, because you can imagine you come to school, and if you're coming into shelter, sometimes the families come with nothing. So we kind of help make sure that the kids have clothing, tennis shoes. We always need shoes, children's shoes, women's shoes, and book bags, things like that. Anything you can think of that you might need if you left everything at your house and we're starting over. So
Wow,
that's
that's
what we
amazing.
need.
What educational programs do you offer, and who are they offered to?
We offer actually a wide variety of education programs, everything from, I'm a certified trainer in mandated reporting of child abuse, along with another staff at Haven, the assistant executive director. We do prevention ed programs, everything from preventing sexual violence, teaching small children how to protect themselves personally, some personal safety issues, to prevent sexual violence of children. We are a domestic violence sexual assault center, so we do both. Some counties have them separated, that you have domestic violence only or sexual assault only, but Haven is a dual center, so we do both. We do dating violence prevention. We do identification of people who need services. That's kind of a critical one. We'll talk about the dynamics of both domestic and sexual violence, stalking. We talk about our services. We talk about some of the remedies and options that victims have. So we go to every place from preschool to the senior centers. We actually recently did a program on bullying in the senior centers because they were having a challenge with that. So we don't always think of bullying with senior citizens, but we also had that. So we have a lot of programs that we will provide. Actually, if you have a program that you think has anything to do with family violence, personal violence, sexual violence, stalking, if you call us, we have a lot of research-based curriculums that we can come out and present to a wide variety of ages.
Okay.
That's really good. How would someone go about scheduling or enrolling in one of these programs?
If they want to call and schedule a program, they could call. Probably the best way to do it would be to dial our business line, and that's 543-1180, and then hit 0, and they will talk to the administrative assistant, and then she will guide them to who would best do that. a lot of us do the programs. There's 4 of us right now that do programming. So really depending on what the subject is, depending on who the audience is, we'll guide them there.
Well, thank you very much. And we are going to take a quick break right now. And when we come back, we will talk more about Haven with Executive Director Ellen Bowman. And stay tuned.
Success. We see it every day. Hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes, internationally known faculty who are committed to your success. Real-world experiences to guide you on your career and life path. An alumni network 120,000 strong. I'm IUP President Mike Driscoll. Visit us. Find your success at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
And we're back with Education Today. Tonight's topic is Haven, which stands for Helping All Victims in Need. And we're speaking with Ellen Bowman, the Executive Director. I know in the past there was involvement with Community Awareness Day. Are you still involved with that program?
We actually didn't do it this year. Judge DeComo and Scott Andressi and Sheriff Crawford originally started that program, and we've been involved with it from the beginning. And this year they did a little bit differently, so we didn't have what we called Community Awareness Day as far as what we were involved in. They still had the events at Lenape Tech, which was really great for the community, but I was there, but we didn't organize anything that was with the schools.
How exactly were you involved with all that?
Before,
Yeah.
I was kind of the coordinator and the glue. I think there's always one person that takes the responsibility to make sure everything happens, and I think my staff, or the staff at Haven, and I did a lot of that.
Are there any other events that you typically are a part of during the year?
There are. We're actually, I'll be going to Harrisburg, to the Capitol on Monday. I'm on the board of directors for the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I'm elected to that board, and we are funded through them. I also serve on a leadership role for membership, and we have, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have a rally at the Capitol on Monday. I have to be out there at 10 o'clock, so I'm going to be there with the staff and other board members at PCDB and actually advocates from across the state of Pennsylvania. One of our new board members, Gary Gregory's sister, was murdered in Philadelphia, and he's going to be one of our keynote speakers at our rally, so I will be there.
So we know October is Domestic Awareness Month. So can you tell us what entails and what DV is?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of people think about domestic violence as maybe a slap, hit, punch, physical violence. But domestic violence is really complicated, and sometimes there isn't physical violence involved at all. It's really power and control. It's somebody taking advantage of a relationship. And I have to reinforce this, it's not all men that do this. There are female offenders, and there are male offenders. Now, research shows it predominantly is male, but that's complicated too, because a lot of times male victims don't like to come forward because of the way society perceives men shouldn't be victims. So that's a whole nother subject. I mean, that's for domestic violence and in particular sexual violence, for male sexual assault.
Right, so you don't know statistically what the actual number is.
Right, I would still say that there's going to be more female victims than men, but I don't know that we do have a really good handle on that. So domestic violence is again, somebody that has power or control over a relationship, and it could be coercive, and we see a lot of financial exploitation where one person manages all the money and really controls the other person. I'll give you an example. We had a victim one time that told us she would be given $5 to go to the grocery store, and she had to give the change back as well as a slip to make sure she didn't even keep a quarter, because if you want to start over with a life free from violence, it costs money. You have to have some kind of financial ability to do that. So we see a lot of that, but a lot of it is emotional abuse too, where people are told very negative things about themselves. And when you're told you're fat, stupid, ugly, and worthless over a long period of time, after a while you start to internalize that. So victims of domestic violence often don't feel good about themselves, and they're often blamed for the violence. So offenders are really good at manipulating victims and making them think they're responsible for it. So if I think I'm responsible, I'm going to just try to continue to fix it. So if I would only do this better or do that better, if I hadn't done that to make him or her angry, I've heard women say to their male victims, if you just made more money, our life would be better. You know, just kind of that kind of emotional stuff. We see a lot of that. So, and the other thing is the threat of violence. So domestic violence offenders are really good at trying to make sure that other people don't see the injuries, because an injury is proof. So they will threaten their victims or threaten their victim's family. The other thing they'll do is isolate their victims. So the people that are most likely to help me and help most people are your friends, your family, people you're close with, people you trust. As a domestic violence offender, I will try to separate you from them, because that's who's going to help you. So they create an environment where you don't have a good relationship with your family and friends, or they threaten to harm your family and friends, so you distance yourself from them because you're trying to protect your family and friends. So, and they threaten pets, and we've actually had domestic violence offenders who have actually killed pets and said, you know, you're next. Wow. And I had one victim one time, she never had a physical injury on her, but she told me her offender would lay a pistol on a kitchen table, a loaded pistol, and say, the next bullet's for you, it has your name on it. So she would do anything he told her to, because she wasn't sure that he wouldn't act on that. Right. So those are the kind of things that are really hard to prove, because there's no injuries. It's one person's word against the other. But some of those coercive behaviors is what we see a lot of. So the fear of violence, and sometimes victims tell us there's been one act of violence, one very serious act, and they never had to do that again, because they just knew what they were capable of. And they knew what might happen. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that happens. So, believe me, physical violence is part of it. The other thing is sexual violence, and dating violent relationships, and in intimate partner sexual violence is really something that we're looking at a lot more closely. I was at a conference in Seattle, and I'll never forget the judge, one of the judges, he's a judge from Colorado, said, what makes you think when the bedroom door closed, all of a sudden they become a nice guy? And when you think about it that way, if somebody's violent and disrespectful of you, you know, in the rest of your relationship, it doesn't, the light switch isn't going to change, you know, in the bedroom. So we're really doing a lot more screening for intimate partner sexual violence also, and that's another, another form.
Can you tell us what victim blaming is?
Well, victim blaming is kind of what again, thanks for asking that question. Victim blaming is, and I have to tell you, I've been at Haven for 16 years, and I'm a pretty strong female. I used to think the same thing, like I would never stay. I wouldn't put up with that, you know? I mean, a lot of people think that. Or since offenders are so good at blaming the victims, they kind of help set the stage so other people blame that victim. And, you know, and I've also heard, she just wants him for his money, or he just wants her for, she just wants him for his money. But the bottom line is, if you're a domestic violence victim, and I have to tell you, it's really hard. Like I said, if I'm going to leave, if somebody told me today that I had to go from here and leave everything I've ever worked for, my home, my clothes, my car, that's a tough decision. Right. So sometimes it appears that I'm there for the money, but it really isn't. Like, I've worked really hard for my stuff too. So just walking away is not as easy as you think. But people will say, well, they could just leave. Well, one of the things I want to reinforce to everybody, the most dangerous time for victims of domestic violence is the first year after they leave a violent relationship. When I'm trying to control you, if I think I've lost control of you and I'm not over you anymore, then I escalate. So that's when the most aggravated assaults occur. That's when the most domestic violence homicides occur. So it's not always safer when you leave. And so victims know sometimes to keep peace with their offender, it's safer for them to stay. And then if I'm an offender, and let's say I have children with you, they often threaten to take their children off of them, take custody of their children, and that's a fear for victims. But the other thing is, one of the other biggest challenges is, when I'm with you, if I'm there and you're violent and my kids are with us, I can kind of monitor that situation. I can act to protect my kids. If my kids are going to see you on a visitation and I can't see those kids or talk to those kids and know they're safe, that causes victims of domestic violence a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. And
'Cause you don't know.
No,
Yeah.
you don't know. And a lot of times what offenders will do is they won't even let victims talk to their children that whole weekend. So from the time they leave till the time they get them back, they don't know what's happening to
And that's
them.
just not fair to the children, you know.
It's not fair to the children, and you know, but again, it's a form of control. It's a form of emotional abuse because the offenders know what they're doing to their victims. They know how hard that is. So victims say, I'll stay so I can make sure my kids are okay, you know, and they come up with a safety plan. They come up with a way to help protect their kids. So that's one of the other reasons victims stay.
What about some of the state and federal programs that pertain to Haven?
We have funding from the state. I mentioned the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. We're also funded through the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. We also have federal funds, the Violence Against Women Act funds and the Victim of Crime Act funds.
Okay.
And I think it's important to understand that a lot of people think we're Haven and we're this small program and we kind of do our own thing, but we're really governed and monitored and have standards that are both federal and state standards, and we're part of a big network. There are 60 domestic violence programs in Pennsylvania, and we're one of those 60. And there are 53 sexual assault programs, so we're one of those 53.
Okay.
So we are part of a bigger picture. So we do a lot of things at the state and federal level as far as advocacy laws, as far as changing some of the statutes. It's really a comprehensive system, but everybody, you know, when you're local, you think, okay, it's Haven, and we're local, but it's
See,
really,
I always thought, I didn't know there was a big
yeah.
government thing too.
And the Victim of Crime Act, one of the things that's important about that particular funding stream is that those are not tax dollars. Most of the other ones are tax dollars, but the Victim of Crime Act are actually fines from, if you'll see, you know, when Volkswagen had a big fine, I think it was like $200 million because they were doing things, they were lying about some safety issues. That $200 million went into the VOCA monies. And those monies are designated to serve victims of crime. So we get some of the monies to serve victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and child abuse under the VOCA grant. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's not tax dollars at all.
What can the community do to help when it comes to domestic violence?
You know, what I would like to see is people learn more about it, understand the dynamics that we talked about a little bit more, understanding that why victims stay, and instead of asking why a victim stays, why don't we focus on why is that person abusive? You know, if we look at the behavior of the person that's causing the problem, then we can do something and do some good social change work. And I think that if everybody understood, what I'd like to focus on, what's a healthy relationship? You know, what does a healthy relationship look like? And everybody has a different perception of that. And you know, a healthy relationship could be equal. It could be, as long as you're both comfortable with it and you're happy with it and it fits you, that's okay, it's healthy. But if somebody else is making you be something you don't want to be, or making you do something you don't want to do, or coercing you, then that's not healthy. Somebody that disrespects you all the time or says mean, hateful things to you all the time, that's not a healthy relationship. Somebody that's insanely jealous of you, doesn't allow you to talk to anybody else, you know, like if you're a guy, if your girlfriend's forbidden to talk to anybody else, and same thing, I've seen that a lot with girls where you're very jealous of your boyfriend, and you know, God forbid an ex-girlfriend walks in the room, you know, it could be like, you know, not a pleasant thing. Those are the kind of things that are unhealthy. You know, a little bit of jealousy is normal. Really controlling, very violent jealousy is not normal. You know, so those are the kind of things I'd like to focus on.
Yeah. Are there any events that are coming up?
We don't have any events right now. This is one, which I'm excited to be here because I think this is going to be a way to get the information out there. It's really hard to have an event in Armstrong County. We don't have a good venue for that. The main event I have coming up, as I said, is I'm going to be at the rally on Monday. We don't do those kind of rallies here because it's just hard. It's hard to get people together. But we do have a lot of things going on at Haven. We have Case Cottage now too, which I don't think I mentioned yet. We started a Children's Advocacy Center under our umbrella. So we do forensic interviews for children who are, there's allegations of child abuse or witnesses to violent crime, which includes domestic violence. So there are 4 of us that are nationally certified forensic interviewers. I'm one of them. I do that also. So we interview kids that witness violence, and so that's been really helpful because sometimes it's often said it's a he said, she said, and there's a lot of people don't realize how it impacts the children that are witnessing this.
Yeah, they see it all.
Yeah.
They see it and
Collide
they hear
together
it.
and-
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're looking at how it impacted them and kind of try to get a sense of what's going on in the family. So we're doing forensic interviews there. So we just opened that on actually October 4th of last year. We had our grand opening, so we've only been open a year for the
wow.
center.
Yeah.
For Case
Yeah.
Cottage. Yeah, it's pretty brand new.
Can you tell us about the Healing Garden?
I can. You know, we have on our board, we have a board of directors governs Haven, and I report to the board of directors. Some of our board members are master gardeners through Penn State. I don't know if you're familiar with that program. Actually, they'd be something good for you guys to have on TV because the master garden program is really pretty exciting. So they decided, they did some research in our backyard at Haven that it's a fenced-in backyard, but we have a place where the people we serve at our shelter and also Case Cottage all share that backyard. And it's been kind of generic forever. It's just been a backyard and it's not been used very much. So they're going to put a healing garden in. They've done some really planful things, and the Master Gardens have decided to use this as a project. And so they're going to be looking at, we're going to do two sections. One's going to be a children's healing garden and one's going to be for adults. And really the purpose of the healing garden is to have a safe place that you can go where you feel comfortable, where it's victim friendly and trauma friendly, that you can go in and kind of be at peace, have some peace. And so they're going to do some really innovative things. They have some really creative ideas for the children's section. And we're going to do everything from some herbs where kids can really understand that, and smells and touches and things that you can go and just kind of take your mind off of some of what you've experienced. So
That's amazing.
it
Yeah.
should be completed by next fall. So we,
Cool.
we had the Day of Caring with some students from Lenape Tech that came and really worked hard and helped clean out our backyard. We got rid of a lot of stuff that didn't need to be there anymore. And then we had, and I want to thank them publicly, West Penn Power guys came for the Day of Caring too, and they worked really hard in our front yard and have everything kind of prepped to do a renovation and do the healing garden. So yeah, it was a real team community effort. It was good.
I bet.
Yeah, it
Sounds
was.
nice, having a nice safe space to just
Yeah,
kinda,
it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really going to be beautiful. We're looking forward to having that for the people we serve.
Finally, what are the contact options to reach for Haven?
The best way to get a hold of us if you're a victim and if you need immediate assistance, it's everything from an emergency shelter, or if you're in crisis or you need a PFA, is our hotlines. Actually, we prefer you to call the local hotline if you're local, and it's 724-548-8888. We do have a toll-free hotline, which isn't, with everybody having cell phone numbers, the tolls aren't as issue, but if you have a landline, it's 1-800-841-8881.
Okay.
You can look at our website, which is havenpa.org, and that kind of helps you hook into the system and into the services too. And if you want a program, we prefer you call the business line because the hotline's for crisis, and so both of them ring into the agency, and that's 543-1180.
Okay.
They're all 724.
Well, that'll be it for us today. Special thanks to our guest, Ellen Bowman, Executive Director of Haven, for being a part of tonight's show. Thanks also goes out to Armstrong Senior High School TV production students, led by their teacher, Mr. Josh Miklas, and they were our film crew for today.
Please join us again next week for another look at the Armstrong School District. DVD copies of this and all Education Today programming can be requested contacting Chris Garitano, Multimedia Technician at Armstrong Junior Senior High School. For more information about the district, visit our website and have a great week.